I'm Kristy Borrelli. I'm the Extension Specialist for the REACCH project. And so while I'm thinking about it, this is the only session out of the program that's being recorded. And so I just want to point out to everyone that microphones are really important for the questions as well as repeating answers for the speaker. So please make sure you're using the microphone so we can record those. So this session today is on the Extension Curriculum Grant Program, or the mini grant program. And this really builds off of what Chad talked about today when he introduced all of the goals of the extension team in REACCH. This is just focusing on one aspect, particularly our milestone of enhancing the stakeholder network in the REACCH region that focus on cereal production. Usually we have, last year we did a stakeholder day at the annual meeting. We've somehow incorporated them into our annual meetings a lot. This year we're doing it a little different. We've been working with stakeholders more throughout the year through other outlets, the Direct Seed Association, cereal schools, field days, things that most of you have been participating in as REACCH scientists in the extension component, but we're also working in enhancing our network this way. And so this was a great way to look at a little different view of our stakeholders, a really great opportunity. There's some really amazing projects going out in our region through this funding, and so this is a great opportunity to invite some of those people. We have 6 of them here today, so we're really lucky that they're going to showcase the project. So in addition to myself, our colleagues Chad and Stephen at WSU and OSU help lead this project. Okay, so Chad gave an overview today. The extension goal is to incorporate stakeholder perspectives and needs into our research design and translate science into practice. This is what we're really trying to do, and again, we're doing this by enhancing our network, making a bigger network. Stakeholder, as we know from a lot of our past meetings, we've had long discussion about who is our stakeholder. And there's lots of options, everything from scientists to growers, everyone in between. And through extension, we really deal with this issue because we're trying to get the wide issue of climate science, which is very broad in scope, and agriculture in itself is very broad in scope, and now you add the climate factor in. It's really big. And so how do we get it down to the point where the growers are making the decision to where they're putting the plow in the ground or the seed in the ground, or if they're not doing those things, as the case might be. And so when we're looking at our stakeholders, we consider not only the grower, but all of those advisors in the area that help communicate science to them. And so that was really the point of the mini grant project itself, is to enhance the ability of them to meet our goals. And so by focusing on this goal of focusing research design and translating the science, we are hoping that we're going to have prepared farmers and land managers and increase their capacity to interpret climate information, but not only climate information, but agronomic information too. Those things that they help make their daily practices, their daily business practices a reality. And then the ability to focus on their associated risks and to understand those and hopefully to avoid those risks. And overall, what we're looking for is sustainable cereal production systems that last way into the future beyond what's going on in the present. Okay, so the challenge to meeting our goal, one of the challenges we face is just the sheer scope of our project. You know, it's a very big area, and I put this AEZ map up here just to remind everyone that the size is very large and the diversity is very large, and so the needs within the region aren't the same, especially when we're making those land management decisions. And so we really have to rely on network to help us reach this whole region to address specific needs or needs within specific areas. And so with any challenge comes an amazing opportunity, that opportunity being that this giant diverse region has many, many capable people working out there in extension as advisors to land managers that we could tap into and give them some resources to fund their great ideas, their important ideas, those things that they have identified as needs that growers have. So that's what we decided to do, and so how we did it, we offered a grant project. We issued it through an RFP. We've been doing this, I think, we started in 2013. That's when I started, and that was the first round that had come through. It might have been 2012. these projects have an extreme extension focus. That's the one thing we're very picky on. What is the product? What is the output? Whatever that's going to be that growers are going to be able to use that's going to translate. So they're not research-based. We can't put the research first. That's the one thing that we're a little bit picky on. We do ask them to incorporate our REACCH goals and our research area, so it is integrated within the framework of REACCH, so they don't stand out entirely by themselves. And included in that, we've asked them to focus on cereal production systems. The awards have been about $10,000 to $15,000 a piece, so again, very targeted. What is your final product? That's been a nice amount of money to act as a seed to facilitate these extension outputs. And then the end-use products, all of the people who create the grants are able to feature them on their own websites or through their own outlets, but we will also collect all of them and feature them on reachpna.org as well. So we have issued, let's see, $170,000 in mini grants through since 2013. We have 14 of them. There's one that had received several rounds of funding, so that's different than the 12 that Chad said today. But they're all across the region. They're in the cereal production region, but not necessarily. We have a couple people out here in Seattle. But they're working, those are the case study videos, and they're working within the cereal region. And we also wanted to expand our network. We're thinking about the future as well as what we have now, so we didn't want to limit people to the REACCH footprint, but as long as they're working on cereal systems. And so we have someone out in Aberdeen doing some work too. So we've expanded it. We really want to increase this network, so it's not just this large area, but really the whole Pacific Northwest. And so with those projects, we have everything from case study videos, we have publications, we have presentations. And again, we have 6 people here, and I'm running out of time, so I'm going to not go into too much detail on all these projects, but just to showcase a few that aren't here today. This is a high residue farming publication. There are actually 5 publications. This is a series. We just funded the formatting and printing of that. That is featured in your annual report. I don't remember. I think it's page 100 if you want to take a look at that. So even though they weren't able to be here today to present, they contributed to our annual report, and they did write-ups for that. A couple projects down in Hermiston, Oregon. This is nitrogen fertilizer volatilization. This is an old publication, a fact sheet. That's actually a series of them. It's a great publication on volatilization, and so what they're doing is enhancing that. They're updating it and looking at urease inhibitors and how those can work in their systems to reduce volatilization. This is another study in Hermiston. This is looking at aphid-resistant wheat crops, and so they're examining if different types of wheat crops have resistance to aphids. And that one's a little bit more research-based, but what Sylvia Rondon is doing with that project is she's doing a lot of outreach. And so here is, she'll feature the wheat with the aphids at her cereal schools, and so people can come and look. She also does K through 12 education or high school education too, and there will also be publications coming out of that. And then the final project I wanted to showcase was this one down in Aberdeen. This is again in the annual report, I think on page 46, and this is looking at wireworms. And so what they're trying to do is map all the different species of wireworms in the state of Idaho, because there's many different species are going to cause different problems to growers, and so they're creating a map of the region. It'll be a digital interactive map. So I think with that, that's all I'm going to say. I think I'm going to turn it over to the speakers right now, but if I have a couple minutes if there's any questions about the grant program. I didn't mention we did offer our last round, or solicited our last round in February this year, and so we just funded 3 more projects that are included here.